Just letting you know, this is only my spoiler first impressions of the episode. Check my pinned comment for a free gift related to this video. And to watch my unfiltered reactions with exclusive bonuses, join my Asha Media TV Club. The link is in the description box below. Now, here's my afterthoughts of this episode of Supernatural.
The Vessel! Woo! Okay. Let's go from the beginning. Very, very fascinating episode. Alright, so at the beginning, 1943, Nazi-occupied France. We get introduced to Delphine and her Thule, unbeknownst to her, Thule lover. And just the style alone of the shot and everything, of course, brings you right back to the episode from the season I can't remember. I just remember the golem. I remember the guy they saved. I remember his face, just as the name of the character. I'll let you remind me if you're willing to do so. I'm not gonna go look it up. But yeah, just the style of the opening shot brought me back to that. So I was like, oh, we're touching back with those guys. And I kind of forgot about them. And I thought that was actually deliberate from the showrunners, kind of one of those plot lines they attempted to do something with and then they kind of dropped it. But it seems like they haven't. Here it is, brought back, tied in now with this lady who is a woman of letters. And she is ready to get the hand of God-ish out of their hands and into protective custody, so to speak. Okay, so that was a good way to open it up and certainly gets your attention, especially the way she killed him. Pretty vicious, pretty vicious. All right, let's move along. And we have here, of course, our opening with our boys. Sam drinking all the coffee. No consideration for who else might want it, like Dean. And all those books piled there. He's straight to work. It's always the little teeny things that Dean will do, Sam will say, react to in these moments. I gotta always try to appreciate when I see it there, especially when it's really funny, like this moment here, grabbing the milk. Oh, I skipped past it, yeah. Just the tool I'm using here. Okay, so yeah. I'm not gonna stay too much on that. But yeah, I just, my reaction to it. I mean, am I the only one that thought that? You smell it, doesn't smell good, let me just put it back in the fridge. Then again, I mean, I have had roommates, yeah, let's just say it's a thing, where some people just don't pay attention to those kind of things. Okay, so moving along, yes, then we have this whole story with what this object is, where it's from, Ark of the Covenant, very much, touched on with many properties when it comes to stuff like that, and even in today's archaeology. I've watched my own share of documentaries here and there of certain biblical items that are still a mystery in some cultures. Some cultures have, anyways, I just like the lore of it. I like it. It's good. Moving forward. Okay, yes, let's touch on Lucifer in hell. That was great. Just this right here. If you had to have the ultimate screenshot right now at this point in the series of Lucifer, I think this is it. Sitting on a throne, not giving an F, playing games. Wonderful. Wonderful. But of course, the biggest surprise for me at this point is Doggy Crowley. Oh my gosh. Just a contraption that they made for this scene to put Mark Sheppard on, chain him up in the worst kind of clothing that I think, like I said, if Crowley had to pick his truest suffering is the wearing those clothes. You know, based on what I believe of Crowley as a person, he's always about looking good, looking sharp, and that to me is the biggest torture for him, not the chains. So I'm sure I mean, considering he's a corrupted soul who likely was in hell when he died as a human and then worked his way up to the point of being king of hell, this is nothing to him. It's all about how to get out, how to use every opportunity like this when he's taken out of the cage. And that's what I'm looking forward to seeing, because it's Crowley. You know, I don't believe these writers will drop the ball with giving me clever, smart, hilarious Crowley figuring a way out of this by getting into Lucifer's good graces in some fashion or fooling him in some way. But it's quite a visual, for sure. Okay, and we have our boys, doing some research, and I had made a comment about Sam would have made a really great lawyer. I still have a spin-off story in my mind if they did have Sam as a character get his law degree in some fashion. Like maybe on the side, it could have been where he's taking night classes, you know, because he's secretive on things. I could totally see it. It's so plausible. Where he could have been taking night classes, get his law degree within the span of these 11 seasons in some form. I could have seen it, and somehow, some way, in the real world, it could have applied for different stories. Like that's just a spin-off version of another type of series of SPN with Sam with a law degree that I think if I had the writing skills, I would have totally written some fan fiction on that shit. Okay, anyway, but the point is, with this whole scene, I like how there's attention to bring in detail for me as a viewer, even though I may not catch on to everything, but I love the actual attempt at just not making this something so simple where they read in one book and they know everything. They're researching, they're checking, they're giving us timelines to narrow down this whole thing with the bluefin ship. I love that. I think that's really good. And then getting to the point where they'll decide to go and get Cass, which I'll get to. Let's focus on this scene here, the torture tools. Not that many. I mean, a lot of medieval times, I guess they're trying to show maybe the span of time to which you have different types of armor being used. I'm not sure, but it seems to be the case. And his pick there is the staff. Colorful one. Okay, so let me just go to this part here. That's a good screenshot. That's very much a Lucifer against Crowley moment. Look at that. I couldn't have put it better. Just probably stamp my own Ashamoji on it just for the hell of it. But I love this. This is good. And in this moment, what I remember thinking was I felt kind of bad, but not that bad. Trust me. Just it is a reality for me. I was like, wow, how interesting. I'm enjoying Misha Collins more as a Lucifer than as Castiel. Like he's that good. But for some reason, I can't grasp to care too much about the Castiel character as much as I care even more so about Lucifer. I mean, even though Mark Pellegrino is the OG for me, I mean, let's say he was in this scene playing with himself in a sense. I mean, that's a video in and of itself. If a fan has made a video about that, let me know at some point when it's safe to know. Like, has a fan made a video of Lucifer versus actual Mark's performance? Because they're both so strong. Anyways. Great scene. And yeah, I gotta give it up. Misha's nailing it. It's so entertaining. And it gets even better towards the end of the episode. So I'll get to that. All right, let's move a little forward now. Let's get to, this whole thing with the plan. Who's going to go where. Now, I got a little upset. I'm not going to deny it. I'm not gonna deny. I'm not gonna also sugarcoat my words. Okay, I prefer when it's Sam and Dean. I just always have, and I probably always will. And where I can try to suppress that when it's not the case, I'll suppress it. But in this case, I kind of couldn't. I was annoyed where it was going to be okay, Cass and Dean out there in the past, because the episodes where they've shown time travel with Sam and Dean have been the most entertaining for me, and it's fun. And for me, it's the Sam and Dean show, just plain and simple. And yeah, sorry but not sorry. That's just how it is. And I was a little annoyed that that wasn't going to be the case, but the way they worked it out with the context of the warding and all that, I rest my case. It was fine, totally fine, especially what it led up to towards the end with Dean and his experience on the ship. Very good, very good. But just watching, if anything, what I take from this in terms of the story they're presenting, it's watching Lucifer assess where the advantage is and where the disadvantage is and who he's, I mean, seeing him lean more towards the ask questions later manner from Dean versus Sam, where it's, let's think first before we act. I'm using the words from one of you as a club member. I like how you broke it down very simply like that. And that's, I agree. I agree. It's a simplified way to really put Dean, compare Sam and Dean, but it's a simplified way that I resonate very strongly to. So kudos for that comment. That's kind of now I've imprinted it on myself to kind of view them that way. And it plays up very nicely. And at times when I think we should be thinking first, the way Sam was trying to, I resonate to it. But then they do a really good job in having Dean play his argument where you're just like, well, okay, maybe in this case, it's just finding that middle ground sometimes it can be tough. And this show is really good at doing that. And if you are emotionally more connected to one character versus the other, that bias in and of itself also plays a factor in where you lean. And I know there are some of you, I'm sure you can take away your biases of being either a Dean girl, a Sam girl, or neither, or perhaps you're just a Cass fan or a Castiel fan, whatever, and you can objectively look at things, because I see some of you do try to make that comment. You'll say something like, oh, as a Dean girl or whatever, yada, yada, yada. And I think that's great. But for the most part, with my experience, just dealing with certain types of fans, it's not the easiest thing to do. And sometimes when you think you're objective, you kind of not. I guess it's your level of self-awareness that's going to matter in the case. But it is fascinating. That's my point of just saying all that right now is just saying the spectrum of trying to be objective while you're also just a subjective being. That in and of itself is its own conundrum that you go through with anything in life. Okay, let's move on. We're on the ship. He finds Delphine. Well, he's hiding first, and I was, of course, like, put on a uniform. And then he gets into uniform eventually. But here, yeah, he doesn't make it on the ship. Castiel comes back. Okay, but I want to get to the port where he's in uniform. Yeah, right here. Looking good. Okay. So let's get to the point here where he meets up with Delphine. Look at that mad face. Who are you? What are you up to? What are you trying to do? Okay. And then here, talking to the ship and everybody, telling them that they're going to go down. I think naturally, it's like, okay, you don't know how the outcome of this episode is going to go. Like, I'm not going to deny that I was thinking, is it possible that Dean might screw things up with the outcome with these people, and then it creates its own consequence that they're going to deal with? Because this show is so unpredictable with where it goes sometimes. So I was kind of bracing myself for both possibilities, and that in and of itself as a feeling, as a thought to kind of go through the motions with, It's a bit boost my anxiety just a tiny bit. But when they finally made it clear towards the latter part that the outcome was going to stay the same, but what he gets to witness in terms of the crew and their courage, I'll get to that, but that was good. That was good. So yeah, Jesse Moss here, Canadian actor, and I'm familiar with some of the independent work he's done. Primarily the Ginger Snaps series. Well, the first movie anyway. I'm a big fan of that series in general, so he wasn't too hard to recognize. But if I'm not mistaken, and you're more than welcome to correct me because I'm not going to go check, I think he was on the show before, wasn't he? Maybe it's a different character. Since they bounce around a lot with the same actors anyway. And Vancouver actors, they're back and forth with the shows filmed there. Anyway, it's good to see him. And with a beard that's a little different for me than normal. Okay, trying to get to some of the meat of this episode. So let's talk about the action then, the sequences. Yeah, I'm just going to pause here. So I had said out loud, if you watch a lot of these action thriller movies, in submarines, I'm thinking of one with Denzel Washington. I can't remember the name. It was Denzel Washington and Lex Luthor in my mind. Old school OG Lex Luthor. Gene Hackman. And I think it's one of my dad's favorite movies. Or my uncle's. But I don't remember the title, but I'm just thinking of those kind of thriller type movies. If you're into that kind of stuff with things in submarines, I guess this is a treat for you. And I don't watch those kinds of movies, but to give it credit where it is due, they really did not spare any effort to show some whatever realism I think is there in terms of the protocol, the routine. It just begs me to wonder how much of the research of what goes on or what could be going on in a submarine-like environment did they do before shooting this episode. Like, there's just a lot of attention to detail. And that is just amazing. And that's what's so interesting with this series, because when they really, really put their time and money to things, it is usually gold. And when they don't, it's not gold. It's that contrast is so sharp at times. It boggles my mind. It really does. But anyway, action sequence, I thought it was awesome. Okay, so let's go here. So she's taking off the warding, and then she gets to the point eventually where she's like, kill me, otherwise there's no chance. Yeah, that whole thing where she had it seeped into her blood, or just it's in her. It's a part of her. Hardcore, man, hardcore. I'm like the tattoo that they normally put on themselves to keep away from being possessed. I'm like, maybe they should find a spell that does a tattoo like that, where it's stays with them forever, ever, just like that. Alrighty. Okay, so yes, the big reveal that totally surprised me. Just trying to find a good moment here to pause at it. I didn't expect this so soon. But the way they went about it makes total sense, right? He has a spell, he knows he's an archangel that can get it done. The impatience of Lucifer. And then realizing, hey, why bother now? I might as well just reveal myself because I got to get this done. He wants that damn hand of God. And just showing Sam his true colors. And I'm just like Sam and Lucifer. 'Tis the journey for season 11 with him. Oh. But I'm glad it's like half of me is a tiny bit disappointed it wasn't discovered in a more crazier way. But considering we're nearing halfway through the season, I know they got to speed things up. So I'm still satisfied with this version of their reveal of Cassifer. Good job there. And yes, Misha, Emmy award-winning performance there. I'm sure Mark Pellegrino must have been very impressed. Give him a run for his money. Tapping into his soul like that. Oh, just look at this facial expression. This is why, like, whenever Misha is completely underutilized, it annoys me. Even if I'm not into the Castiel character, I'm a fan of Misha. And to me, it's like when you give him really good stuff to work with, just like Jared and Jensen, they shine. They shine so bright. Like an angel. Okay. Let's move along here. So, part where they're realizing, yeah, death is upon them. And then she makes, well, yeah, the Thule reveal here. I'm so glad it came when it came, because I couldn't remember for the life of me the name of the organization, but here he is. Big bad Thule on the German ship, telling them, you're going down. Now, there was a point during this whole scenario where I thought one of them was going to traitor them in order to try and save themselves. But no, they did a better thing, a wonderful thing, and that's having them actually be so brave, so courageous in the face of death. Like she said, Delphine, you know, they were going to make it count, make it be worth something with all this, and still have the same outcome of going down with everybody. That was just beautifully done and nicely performed. And for Dean to be so taken aback by it, it's understandable. All right, let's take a look at this. Yeah, the visual of this hand of God situation-ish. It's when she gets all lit up with it. Yeah. And then Dean, as he said, he's just witnessing this amazing act of courage and bravery and all of the above of this entire crew. In the nick of time before he gets yanked out. Huh. Cassifer's face. Damn it! Should be me! Give me the power! Okay, so then he gets back in there and he's being told, Dean gets told that's not Castiel and it is Lucifer. It's good when I land on these good moments here. Totally went well. Side by side as a shot. This definitely summarizes pretty much what happened when he... Oh, that's a good shot. That's a good shot. Okay, yeah. Cat's out of the bag. And just the way he describes his experience dealing with them. I mean, it's one thing, you know, as he said, to have them as adversaries and then to work with them, he's just as annoying. A lot of fun to watch as a viewer. I love it. And then Sam's preparing to eject him out. That's a good shot too, right here. He's just yammering away because he loves to hear himself speak. This is the second episode in a row where the latter part is the most fun. But yeah, this one-time use thing, go figure, as Dean says, you know, of course you just make it be powerful the one time, and the one time used at the most important part. So, yeah. All this just to get Casper to come out of the bag, really, and to have Dean and Sam now reconcile with the fact that not only do they have to stop Amara, but they have to now, as Dean puts it, save Cass. So that was definitely something that was obvious to see. Okay, now this point here, blasting him back, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I mean, after all these seasons, I should know this, but there's always that seed of doubt because the show at times will throw a curveball But I think I should be safe to confidently say that whenever they've been doing this, they go back to heaven. So is that where he's going to end up? It's like an automatic ticket in. Okay. Guess I'll see soon enough if something is going to play differently for Lucifer. All right, then we have our really nice ending here. I really enjoyed this scene, and I think it was very strong on both ends in showing Dean's vulnerability, and not just the vulnerability, just I like how it's very Dean. He says enough for Sam to understand. It was quite an emotional impact he experienced on the ship, but not enough to just be, blabbering his emotions, which he normally doesn't do anyway. And it's very Sam to ask, do you want to talk about it? Good scene. Good way to end it off. We see that there's an impact on both of them. So, yeah, crossing my fingers for more awesome episodes. And I'm only relying on that possibility since there's a number of you that really enjoy it this season. But then again, based on feedback on some of you who I normally see a consistent pattern of you liking things, but all of a sudden you don't, that's where I'm just like, oh boy, this is probably one of those seasons where it's quite a mixed bag, like season 8 is. Season 8 is very much, from what I've been gathering, that's been a dividing factor for your fandom. Okay, so Ashamoji for this episode, I'm going to give it a 5. Through and through, because it is excellent. I loved every single scene, and there were so many surprises. Performances were strong, and when I thought it might get a bit corny with the, with what I thought was the fillerish aspect with the Thule, because let's be honest, the Thule episode, it had its moments for sure, but overall, I mean, it's corny with a capital C, but they did a good job in this one. They were utilized just enough to make the point. So, and the pacing, more than anything, the pacing was great. Pacing was really good. And there were some impactful scenes and new revelations. So, a 5 it deserves. There you have it. Those are my afterthoughts for episode number, where am I at? 14! From the 11th season of Supernatural. If you want access to my full reaction to this episode, uncut, unfiltered, more than anything, including bonuses that I share only with my club members, details on joining my Asha Media TV Club is in the description box below for you. All right, people. I'm going to continue my little journey watching a couple more episodes of SPN. So the next one is episode 15. I will see you in that video. Peace out.
Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe and check out my other videos.